Imagine waking up to that sound the first afternoon you wake up in a new country. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Rajiv Show, and I'm your host, Rajiv Doreswamy. And this is season 2, Life in India, episode 2, first few days in, culture shock. Before I forget, tune in every Wednesday for fresh new episodes from yours truly. And as I mentioned, the first afternoon we woke up, we woke up to the sound of, I guess cows. I remember rushing to the balcony to check out what was going on, and I see these cows um, moving towards the house in front of our house or opposite our house, which was, of course, later I found out that that was a cow business, cow milking business, and that was new. Uh, Looking at stray cows is different than looking at stray dogs, which is a common thing here in the Philippines. That was an interesting moment, and that was an interesting start of a day also. And then, of course, we had Indian food, which is normally chapati with the mix of Indian stuff. I don't really remember. And then we headed down to greet our relatives and family members, and we were excited to meet them. And Indian people, I gotta say, Indian people are warm people. That's one thing I love about Indian people. Uh, they're very warm. They're very compassionate, and it's nice to know a lot of people in India are very loving. And moving on, that very night, because we woke up in the afternoon, as mentioned earlier, we went to Commercial Street. Uh, how to explain Commercial Street? Commercial Street is, well, a place full of commercial stuff. I mean, Indian stuff, with a mix of Western. I remember there was KFC, but the place is packed. When I say packed, it's Manila before the pandemic packed. uh, there's a lot of stuff everywhere, saris on one end, and Indian sweets, and Indian street food, Indian jewelry, and we got Subway, we got KFC, we got almost everything everywhere. And I got to taste my very first Indian street food, which is Pani Puri. I love Pani Puri. It's this bulb-like, uh, I don't know how to say. It's the size of a small bulb, and it's cracked in the on the top, where inside it is uh the potato, and then of course you dip that into pani, which is of course water, and then you swallow the whole thing. Huh. Interesting. You don't chew it or slice it up like pizza. You swallow the whole thing. When I say swallow, you gotta shove it straight down and then chew and swallow. Yeah. And then after pani puri, uh, we went for ice cream, which is interesting. I remember heading down, having ice cream in the ice cream parlor in Brigade Road. We are not in Commercial Street anymore. We've moved on to Brigade Road. There's this ice cream parlor that my dad uh, told told us about, where back in the day they used to park their car right in the corner of the ice in front of the ice cream parlor, and then they have this table where you can pick up the ice cream and eat it, or eat it like a normal car restaurant. Sadly, things changed, and I think it's still there. I hope it's still there. uh that was uh amazing. And then that's how we wrapped the night off. And then the next day, of course, new day. We we got to I got to meet the neighbors. This time I went and met up all the lovely lovely people in the neighborhood, and I got to meet up with the young ones, my age group. And I remember they taught me how to play cricket, which is an interesting game to begin with. Um, Cricket is the national sport in India, and how you play it is you have, uh, if let's take it in a professional setting because our street was much more narrow. Uh, you play cricket in a very wide, uh, oval size stadium, and in the center of a stadium you have one line, and in that line you have two batsmen on two ends protecting wickets, and then you have the bowler that comes run in, and there are of course markings where they should place their leg. If they go above that, it's of course out. And you have an umpire who checks whether you have two umpires, and of course the third umpire is the television. And then how you play cricket is you have this bat which is flat in the front and then curve on the back, and it's much thicker on the back end. And then of course you have this small uh, pipe where you hold the bat, uh, and then you have the ball, which is interesting. There are specific colors for the ball, but for this setting, let me just say that the ball that they normally play with is the red colored ball. And of course, the rules, as you get on with the rules, is the bowler runs few miles, not few miles, a short distance, and throws the ball in such a way that it it comes forward, and the batsman is supposed to hit the ball. And then of course if the ball touches the boundary, which is in the oval, there is a certain placement for the rope, and the rope is called the boundary. So if the ball hits over the rope, that's considered 6 points or six. Or if the ball rolls towards the rope, that's considered four. So those are the two major scores. So now if the batsman hits the ball and then it hits the ones who are guarding him, which is the fielder, they're supposed to make a run for it. If the distance of the ball is further and they have the chance to run, they make the run. And each run is 1 point. So the goal of the bowler is to hit the wicket in such a way that you break the wicket. And the rule is if they hit it 10 times, the batsman is out. But uh, if the batsman hits, there's a scoring. So it's basically their score versus 10 wickets. So there's this thing called Hattrick where if the bowler hits three players out through the wickets, or uh, through the fielder catching the ball in midair, or or if the fielder uh, catches and drops the ball by accident and throws it back to the bowler or the fielder, the wicket keeper, and then the runner or the batsman heading towards the particular margin doesn't touch the margin, as the wicket keeper knocks the wicket, that's considered run out. So you have run out, uh, you have wickets, or you have this thing, the fielder catching the ball. So now, so those are the three rules that the bowler's goal, eh, the goal of the bowler is supposed to achieve. For the batsman, of course, they play it in innings, and I'm not really sure about the scoring system for the innings, but the goal is 10 wickets. If you knock out three batsmen uh, three times consecutively, that's considered hat trick. So that's how you play cricket. It's an interesting sport, and I also remember learning how to cycle. And yeah, practically that was the first few days in. Uh, a lot of customs I want to add in this conversation is the cars, the position of the driver's seat. If you're sitting in the back, the driver's seat is on the left hand side, as here in the Philippines, the drivers are normally on the right hand side. And then public transportation, we have this thing called auto, which is exactly like the tricycle, but the driver is in front, not on the side, and the wheels are very cute, small wheels, three wheels. It's just uncomfortable when you have like 10 people in that. It's not really fun. Uh, the British influence is still there, which is British English, and the Indian customs, and there's a lot of Indian customs I missed out, but it's fun. Anyway, wrapping up this episode, I hope you enjoyed my storytelling of the first few days in, and tune in again next Wednesday for another episode. And I hope you learned something new. And cheers, cheers, folks.